Morning on the Mekong. The GT riders are in one of founder David Unkovich's favorite places in Thailand, the Tammila Guest House in Chiang Khong.
Tammila, it's a small family guest house. It's old, but it's got soul and character. It's got a rustic sort of ambience that just warms you as soon as you walk into the place, and always feel at home as soon as you walk down the steps into the place. It's not a high pressure guest house with a big volume of tourists there. People just come and hang out there for days on end.
After a leisurely breakfast, the GT riders head up into the mountains by bike. And then on foot.
They used to be pushing me uphill.
David and Brian are retracing the steps of communist guerrilla fighters and the Chinese KMT soldiers hired to push them back into Laos.
We continued round the Mekong and we've gone up into the mountains on the Laos border. That was once an area that was communist infiltrated. We're sitting on one of the famous hills where they had a battle, several battles with the communists, and just around the perimeter here there's still some trenches that you can see. The communists had infiltrated this whole border area with Thailand in the 60s. And that was in the time of the domino theory, and the idea was to push them back into Laos and not let them gain control of it. The communists were all supported by China in those days. When they realised they'd been in here so long, then the Thais tried to force them out. And the original plan was to get some KMT soldiers in from Doi Pha Tang to settle on this mountain, and they used them to push the communists out. That didn't work so well, and eventually the communists came back in again in other areas, and then over 3 or 4 months they had several battles on all the peaks of the ridgeline along here, and then eventually they forced them out. Then they settled the KMT in here permanently. So behind me is the Thai side. On the other side there's a sheer cliff that goes straight down to the Mekong, and then from here, the viewpoint here, if it's clear, you can see the Mekong and you can see all the villages in northern Laos there. The view is spectacular. But unfortunately for today, it's all fogged in. Here are some pictures that I took several months ago, and you can see the fantastic view.
As the boys descend from the mountain ridge that was once a battlefield, David reflects on his lifelong passion for biking and the dangers he has met along the road.
Oh, I've had several accidents over the years here. I had a big one when I was 20 years of age, 13 fractures in my body. Pelvis, ribs, both arms, collarbone, jaw. Recovered from that.
As always, there were plenty of other bikers helping him get back in the saddle and waiting for him down the road.
Yeah, there's certainly a camaraderie between bikers. When you see some other biker on the road, you nearly always wave out and say hello. And if you see them stop beside the road, you might stop and talk to them and ask them how they're going. Is everything okay? Do you have any trouble? They respect each other. Bikers, I think they like to be independent. They enjoy freedom and fresh air. They're not brainwashed to think like everyone else is. They like that independence of being on their own machine and riding around and doing their own thing by themselves. That's what the bike gives them. It gives them that freedom of thought, not being in a tin box, a car or a bus with everybody. they're out there by themselves doing what they want and thinking clearly by themselves.
Yeah, I started with my first motorbike when I was about 11, 12 years old. My father taught me how to work on it, and I had the police after me most of the time. And in those days, once you turned 16, you were allowed to ride a small motorbike. And I got my first license when I was 16, and I love motorbikes. It's something about the freedom when you are riding, the thing you see. And then for about 10 years I was without a bike, and that felt very empty. And when I moved to Thailand, I looked around. I had some friends living here that were riding motorbikes, so I bought a cruiser at that time. So at home now I have a cruiser, this bike, and also a Honda 250 cross bike 2-stroke. It's a 250 CRM that has unbelievable power. But there's no plates on it, so I can't use it on the roads.
The Roman historian Tacitus observed, "The desire for safety stands against every great and noble enterprise." If Tacitus were alive today, chances are he'd be a biker.
That's what I enjoy doing. That's my passion. That's what keeps me alive, keeps me going, keeps me wanting to ride and see new places and draw new maps, look for new attractions, try and cheer the local communities, tell people where to go, where to stop and see.